Hello, friends. Welcome back to another Sunday special. In these videos, I go through the markets each Sunday and I talk about trade ideas and setups going into the week ahead. We've got a lot to talk about today, so I am going to go ahead and jump right into it. If you're new to my channel, though, before we start, I do want to just say, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you want more free trading content. I do this stuff completely for free each week. I put out a video talking about my setups and ideas, and all I ask in return is that if you enjoy my content, make sure to stick around by subscribing and hitting the like button down below. Okay, so let's get into this. There's a couple things I want to point out going into this week. Of course, last week we had a really big steep sell-off there on the US dollar, which will be very, very interesting to watch going into this week. In fact, I think that the dollar is probably in focus the most this week due to some of the big news events that we have coming out. So in a second, I'm going to talk about technical setups, but first, I just want to make you guys aware of some of the news that is on the radar here for this week. We'll zoom in here. A couple big things to note. You've got NZD news, you've got unemployment numbers, you've got a rate statement from Australia. Both of these have potential to move the Aussie and New Zealand currency pairs. And then you also have a little bit of news here for the US. You have ISM Services PMI. You have big news on Thursday for GBP, talking Bank of England's monetary policy, etc. And then you've got a very big key stuff going, or big things happening on Friday of this week. Of course, we have NFP, which is going to be probably the biggest potential market mover. And there's a lot of loaded energy around this event, especially going into this coming month. So, August is here, so we do have that first Friday of the month, NFP news coming out. So stay tuned for that. We also have Canada unemployment. So unemployment reporting in the US and Canada on Friday will probably, in my opinion, be the biggest potential news mover. And the reason for that, the reason going into that is, again, we had a steep sell-off on the dollar last week. That's a big deal because when you have a lot of bearishness on the dollar after its long run up recently, right? We've had a pretty good strong rally for the dollar. And now you're seeing a little bit of give back. We have a lot of pressure on the US here to really perform with their unemployment numbers, right? Big deal here is that when you have that sell pressure coming on the dollar, the bears don't want to see good numbers and the bulls, they definitely do, right? The Fed has made it very, very clear that they are not as far along as they want to be with recovery in terms of economic bounce back, unemployment, etc. They are still sort of waiting to see the numbers improve. And so with the Fed waiting on those numbers to improve, you can imagine that investors and people watching the US dollar are certainly going to be keen on watching what those numbers come out to be. So what that means is that if you have a higher rate of employment, if you have more people getting back to work, that is generally seen as good for an economy, and vice versa. If you have bad numbers, then the dollar could very much weaken from that news. So again, we had clues from the Fed that were a little bit dovish, a little bit concerning. And so for me, going into this week, I do have a bearish bias on the US dollar. We have also seen this higher time frame level get rejected there at the 93.27, somewhere in the zone, right? We've seen that level get rejected just recently. So I'm not going to be surprised if we do see a little bit of more pullback there on the dollar. Doesn't mean I think it's going to be absolutely bearish forever. But a big thing for me is that with that news on Friday, it's going to be so important for dollar bulls. If they get good numbers, then yeah, sure, we could maybe make a stab back up to the top. But because of the dovish tone from Jerome Powell and the Fed, I am sort of on the sidelines with the dollar, if not more on the bearish side after breaking out of that upward structure. So again, we had this beautiful upward motion. And did we have RSI divergence? Let me see if we did. We sort of did. Check this out. Okay, so we had, we had higher highs coming into this market, right? Higher highs coming into the price action on the daily chart. But check out the RSI at the same time. We had a declining RSI during that same time. Congratulations if you caught some of that movement to the downside there on the dollar last week. But this is sort of, I have a video on this topic, but RSI divergence is basically when you see the RSI sort of showing a lack in strength, whereas price is trying to make higher highs. Sometimes that can lead to a big reversal, which we saw last week. Okay, let's look at some of the individual crosses there on the dollar. We'll start with the euro today and see what's going on here. So the euro dollar did close towards the end of this week or this past week up at resistance at 1.1880. We talked about this a couple different times on the live streams. So we will see if this level can hold. Again, very much going to depend on what the news comes out to be. But going into this week, I am sort of dovish on the dollar as the Fed has been as well. So if anything, little bit more on the bearish side so of the dollar, which could mean euro USD may be retracing a bit more. Now I'm not super bullish on the euro itself. There are other places that I'm a little bit more interested in terms of opportunity, but when talking about the dollar, I am a little bit dovish there, so a little bit more willing to say I think that the euro dollar could have a little bit of a bounce play, maybe up to levels like 1.2 as sort of a short-term target there for euro bulls. That's my opinion there on euro USD. We'll take a look now at GBP USD to see what these ones are doing from a technical analysis perspective. Very interesting change in tone here. You had this little downtrend going on, and then we had the breakout last week, and then lots of bullishness there on the pound going into the end of the week. But then here's the 4-hour view. 4-hour view had a nice little pullback there. I do have trades open on the pound dollar. If you are not a member of our group, by the way, there is a 25% off sale going on. So if you're not already inside of our private Discord, all of the trades that I take, as well as Frank and Patrick, two of our other analysts, will be shared inside of the group. So if I am long on something, you will see it with an entry, stop loss, analysis with every trade, etc. So if you're not already in there, check it out down below in the description. It's the first link. You sign up on our website. Using that code, you're going to get 25% off for supporting the channel here. Thank you very much to you for being here. And of course, this is not something you have to do, but if you are interested in joining community, if you want access to a chat room of traders that are serious, if you want in-depth research, coaching webinars, strategy, and software library tools, there are so many different things that we offer inside of our Discord, and there's a full staff of people working really hard to make it all possible. So if you would like to support to another degree, you can join us there over on Discord. I don't have a Patreon or anything for the stuff I do on YouTube. Instead, I'd rather offer a service that we can price the best we can, which is a community on Discord where we share all sorts of extra perks for members and people on YouTube who want to sort of take it to the next level with us. But I do like pound dollar to the long side. I think it has potential if we do see continued bullishness for the pound and maybe some bearishness for the dollar, could carry us up to 1.4, which is my short-term target there for the pound dollar. Do like the way that price has been forming these higher lows and higher highs. And as long as that continues, I am willing to stay bullish on this pair. I also, like I mentioned, that breakout that we saw was beautiful. You had this nice little break of structure where we were seeing these downtrends and down, lower highs, lower lows, etc. We saw a little shift in that narrative, and I actually ended up taking a trade there inside of the Discord. All the entries, exits, stop loss, etc. are shared for those of you guys who are already members. Check out my trade alerts next time you are in there, and you should be able to see that trade that I'm in on the pound dollar. So yeah, I do like the pound dollar long side. I think it has potential there. We will see if that plays out nicely. Next one, I'm going to do gold, but I want to do dollar yen first, actually. So dollar yen found support here at 109.4. Nice little rally there starting towards the end of the week. I am sort of on the sidelines with this pair, being that I am sort of mixed, if not bearish on the dollar right now, and also bearish on the yen. That doesn't make me super interested in trading this currency pair. Now, something like GJ or AJ, Aussie yen, pound yen, maybe CAD yen even. Those pairs I potentially like to the long side since I am bearish on the yen. So that may be something to keep an eye on. But for those of you guys who are watching dollar yen, it does seem like we found a short-term low there at 109.4, 109.5, somewhere in that range. I would say that likely if this thing does want to just keep ranging, if both of these currencies are going to just stay weak, then you may just see these things, this thing, rally back to the highs of this range and maybe just play back and forth. For me, there is no super interesting, trade setups for this pair at this time. Maybe if things start to change for the dollar, I could look at this one more seriously again. Next up is going to be gold. We'll take a look at gold today and see what's going on. So gold sort of had a rough end of the week. So we had this really strong rally about midweek until start of Friday. We had this really strong rally to the upside there. Beautiful, beautiful push off of this level of support there at 1790. and ended up coming up to 1830, finding resistance once again at that 1830 mark and selling off a little bit into the close. Will this thing go higher next week? Well, I would say I'm not sure because I don't know the future, but I will say I do like the idea of potentially going long on gold after a break and retest of 1830. That might be something that could come into play. I do like that quite a bit. It would match up nicely with my sort of strategy to wait for a break of structure like that and to look to sort of try and go with that, especially with that dovish or bearish bias that I do have on the dollar going into this week. So I do like the idea of, hey, if price is able to hold this, nice little rally there, something like this could come into play, then absolutely could see myself looking for gold longs. So that is, by the way, some of you guys have asked, well, I can't trade gold, or I don't have access to some of these different trading charts that you do. If you do have if you're looking for a broker, I do have some brokers listed down below in the description. If you use those links, you can check them out, and also supports the channel. I get like a small commission for people that I refer. So if you'd like to check them out, there's a link down below in the description for some of the brokers that allow you to trade gold and other creative things like that. So check it out down below in the description. So so gold for me is a big waiting game right now. I'm waiting to see if we can get more signs of strength, see if there's anything to rally upon, and really try and just catch the retest. Because the thing about gold, and I've discussed this a couple times on my channel for sure, is this idea of momentum. When momentum starts to pick up on gold, a lot of times it just stays the course, right? You get these periods of time where you just get heavy selling and it just keeps going and going and going. And then the buyers take a turn, the sellers take a turn. And now I'm sort of just waiting to show some signs of, we've been very consolidation heavy on the gold market. We've seen price go up, about back down, and just sort of oscillate. I would love to see a breakout there, show some strength for the bulls, and then look to get long. Now, I'm not really interested in selling gold at this time. I've mentioned on my channel also that I'm not a big fan of shorting gold due to its sort of deflationary nature, meaning over time it tends to go up because they don't make any more gold, but they definitely print more dollars, right? So what that does is it naturally over time creates a rising price for gold. That's not a perfect and always true answer because there are times where gold declines quite a bit. But the overall for me, I do have a long term, slight bullish bias on the gold market. So I'd rather be looking for longs, if anything. And so if it does break out, maybe I'll look for some continuation plays there going into this week. So that's my idea there for gold. Let's take a look at the Aussie, taking a look at the Australian dollar today to see what's going on. So the Australian dollar found resistance right there at the 38.2% retracement. We drew this in with the fib tool. We went from high to low, and then the retracement came back up to 38.2 and did, in fact, hold that level beautifully. For those of you guys who do not know much about fib retracements on TradingView here, I've got a high to low marked out with the fibs, and it gives me these three levels: the 38.2, the 50%, and the 61.8. And these are just big levels of the of a trend pullback, right? That we could look for potential, continuation plays, right? Playing into that pullback and continuation. This can be done for upward markets or downward markets. If you do not know much about Fibonacci retracements and you would like to learn more, there is free stuff on my channel. You can just search up on YouTube, Trader Nick Fibonacci, and then you can find a video or maybe even two videos that I've done on that topic. So check it out, 100% free. There you go. So I do like this idea here for Aussie dollar for more downside. I am bearish on this thing. I believe Frank is also bearish on this. I'm not sure if he has a trade open on it or not. But again, just sort of letting that thing fly and see if it wants to keep going lower. There may be some opportunities to try and get involved. I do like the idea even of looking for a breakout and looking for continuation. You might say, well, Nick, that looks like a little bit late to the trend. Why would you want to sell it all the way down there? Well, I am a momentum trader, so I tend to actually be selling things low to try and buy back lower. Or an easier way of seeing it is buy high, sell higher, right? So I'm a trend trader, and that is it tends to be what trend traders do. We try and buy pullbacks in an uptrend or breakouts in an uptrend, and same thing in the downtrend, right? We're looking for continuation. So there's a lot of strength here to the downside for now for the Aussie dollar. If that changes, then of course I'll probably not be touching it. But if it does continue, I'd be looking for opportunities to get short and to go with this trend. That's not me telling you to go do that because this is just my opinions on these videos. But I do like that personally for my own potential trading. So I do like that. Take a look at NZDUSD as well. NZDUSD holding up a little bit better against the dollar, a little bit stronger than the Aussie right now, which in fact we could see if we cross the two against each other, AUD, NZD. You can see that Australia compared to New Zealand, or the Aussie dollar versus the Kiwi dollar, has declined quite a bit. Seen a lot of downside for the Aussie recently, and the NZD has been doing better. So back to NZD USD, you can see it's a little bit holding up better against the dollar. It's not just crashing like the Aussie. So maybe some opportunities here as well. If you are bearish on this for your own reasoning, maybe there's some downside there if the trend does continue. Part of the reason that I am a little bit sort of cautious in buying any of these Asian currencies right now is due to the Delta variant concerns that are rising over there. Right. So Australia has experienced lockdowns and troubles and issues. And, over a year ago when we saw COVID start, it was a huge issue for Australia, for some of those places that, depend heavily on their economic situation is based heavily on trade with China, with the US, et cetera. So when everything shuts down, that's really, really tough for some of those countries out there. So we're hoping for the best in terms of pandemic recovery. I'm sure that we are all sick of it and hoping that it will go away. But in terms of markets, just seeing that could be a cause for bearishness on the Aussie and the NZD keeps me a little hesitant on these pairs at this time. Let's talk about dollar CAD. Taking a look here at USD CAD, we fell out of grace, or I mentioned yesterday, or was it Friday? So this is sort of a fall from grace. You do have some weakness here for the dollar. That strength finally coming to a close, it seems like, and maybe due for some further downside there on the dollar CAD. I am bullish on the CAD right now. I think it has potential to continue to rally. We see oil supplies drying up a little bit, which is causing a rise in the price of U.S. oil. So you see oil sort of breaking out there and making a move higher. This is strong for the CAD. Remember that Canada's economy is heavily, correlated in some ways to oil, right? Rising oil prices tends to be good for the Canadian dollar. It's not always a one-to-one correlation, but it is sort of there. So pay attention to oil prices if you watch the Canadian dollar. So we do see a rise in oil, and we're seeing the Canadian dollar also sort of rise on the back of that. Looking at things like CAD yen, I do have a bullish bias. We're seeing oil continue to rise. I'm going to be looking more for CAD yen, which is, for a potential buy, as this thing has been beaten down relative to some of the rising oil prices. So I do like that for a potential comeback play or sympathy play, if you will, in terms of oil and CAD yen. That's just my thoughts. Do like that to the upside as well. USD CAD, I think, has some downside here. I think it may come down a little bit further if you were to draw a fib here. Right? If you're just draw from there to there, maybe a move down to 50% or even 61.8 could come into play before you see serious attempts from buyers. That is just my thoughts. We'll see. Very much depends on what happens with the dollar this week. I could be right. I could be wrong, but either ways, if I did take a trade or if I do take a trade, you'll see it in the Discord. And if I take it, I'll put stops on there, of course, to protect my trade if it does go against me. With that said, you guys, that is going to wrap up today's video. If you did enjoy, remember to hit that like button down below. It lets me know that you want to see more of these sort of videos, and I'll keep them coming for you for free. So with that said, thanks so much for being here, guys. Remember, there's a 25% off Discord sale going on right now. It is linked down below in the description. If you'd like to get in on that, this is your chance. You see all the trades that I take. You get access to our chat room. You get in-depth research from our analysts. You get live coaching webinars from our coach, Joe Barreca from Australia. We also have a strategy and software library available to our gold members. So thank you guys very much for being here with me. If you did enjoy, again, hit that like button down below, and I'll see some of you guys in the Discord. Have a